Welcome to the Knowledge Entrepreneurs Show, where we celebrate the innovators driving change in the education industry. At Edison OS, we've worked with over 500 knowledge entrepreneurs to turn their edtech ideas into profitable businesses. Hi, Mohini. Good morning. Welcome to the Knowledge Entrepreneurs Show. Thank you so much for taking your time out to be here with me today.
Good morning, and I'm really thankful for making me come here. This is a great opportunity and a great platform.
It's totally our pleasure, Mohini. I mean, we've always wanted to talk to people who've had entrepreneurial journeys, and there's nothing amazing than getting to know the journey, the ups and downs, the challenges. It really helps people get an idea of what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
I agree.
And how different it is to be teaching for a company, and how different it is to come out as a teacher and then you having to do everything.
Absolutely.
So on that note, but yeah, sorry, before we get into that, Moni, if you can, walk us through your journey from, the point you probably graduated, or even you can go back to your education and
Oh,
up until the point that you got into training and everything
ah,
surrounding that.
okay. So I'll have a lot to say in that case.
Sure.
So I'll go back to my schooling then. I did my schooling from Dehradun. My siblings were all studying in Dehradun. I'm basically from Calcutta, but we've been, they were out for the boardings. So even we landed up there. And yeah, I mean, I saw something different, the boarding life and the hostel life. That was great. Post that, I moved to Pune, where again I pursued graduation, bachelor in commerce in Symbiosis, College of Arts and Commerce.
Right.
Then a great opportunity, a great exposure. Pune, Bombay side was like a completely new place for me, and I really love Pune. Like that's like my second home, I can say that.
Okay.
I spent a good 7-8 years in Pune. So
Right.
I'm totally in love with Pune. Like if I have to move somewhere, I will definitely move and stay in Pune.
Okay.
And that's where I started with my journey. So I got graduated. After BCom, you don't have many options. Like, I mean, either you are pursuing a chartered accountant course
Right.
or secretary. I was not into that. I thought I'll just go ahead and do some masters. I'll go get into some IIM and get a fancy ass graduation, post graduation done. But yeah, I mean, I was very naive to not take up the studies accordingly. So I was like, let's just focus on CAT and I'll be able to make it. I did not get a great percentile. I wouldn't even want to talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, all my dreams came crashing down. I did not sit in the placements as well. Symbiosis had great placements. The
Okay.
Google coming in, and there were like fancy companies coming in.
Right.
I was so sure in my head that what, I'm just going to IIMs. I don't need to sit for this interview. But yeah, it all went a little wrong there. But while I was getting trained for these interviews in my college, we had this company coming up. They were training me for interviews, like
Right.
soft, you can say.
Right.
I found that to be really appealing. I liked what they were doing, and it looked like, I can do the same.
Right.
Why not? Why can't I do the same after graduation? If master's is not working out, let's go ahead with that.
Right.
So yeah, I initially started my journey being a soft skill trainer. I got trained myself,
Okay.
and I took a few trainings with some engineering colleges in Mumbai and Pune. It was a great experience again, training students for interviews and everything. Eventually, I got an opportunity to take up IELTS training in Mumbai. So the institute trained me for IELTS and TOEFL kind of trainings, where again I came to know about these courses and how they work.
Right.
And I basically started practicing it more while training in the institutes. I understood what the students might need, where I could come and help. And from there, I eventually and gradually moved to GMAT, GRE, and SET kind of courses.
Right.
Now that when I look back, I mean, I feel that just with the thought of providing training got me to the place where I am right now. At that point in time, I never thought that, GMAT, GRE, SAT was like a big deal for me. I never thought that I could take it up and I would be so great in the teaching part. And, I would understand what the students might need and just tackle everything so brilliantly.
Right.
Why am I saying? I'm not trying to self-praise myself that I'm saying, I brilliantly did it, but because my students got great scores,
Of course.
my
Yeah.
institutes I was working with, they kind of started giving me more responsibilities. So when you're working, the more responsibilities you get,
Yeah.
you know that you're doing great at
Yeah.
whatever you're doing. You'll be. So that was one thing which told me that, you're doing great with your job. Your students are liking your work, they're getting their scores,
Right.
you're learning so much new. So training is one thing that I started from, right? So soft skill, IELTS, TOEFL, and then GMAT, GRE, and SAT.
Right.
The second thing I came, I was thinking to myself that who are these people who are making these questions and answer solutions for
Mm-hmm.
students? I'm like, how cool will it be if I start doing that? Because now that I've taken up so many tests, so many questions, everything is so repetitive for me. When
Right.
you're teaching an institute, you're teaching that same content over and over again, right?
Right. Right.
You can possibly just keep your eyes closed and be like, you know what, this is the answer for that question.
Right.
It's so usual.
Right.
Then I was like, I think now is the time when I need to upgrade a little bit. So let's try and look for an opportunity where I can create question and answer solutions. You know, so that was another level that I wanted to get to. I eventually did get an opportunity where I was just creating the question answer solutions for GMAT and GRE. Uh, this is something that was a total that was a time when I thought that's pretty challenging. Question answer solutions, creating them is not so easy
Right.
as it was when it was in the trading part of it, right?
Yes.
But yeah, because I found it tough, I made it a point that I have to understand and I have to ace it. Again, I was working with an institute, so I created question answer solutions, got appreciated for it, was creating more and more. And then I realized that, on LinkedIn, through LinkedIn, I was getting a lot of people inquiring for one-on-one tutoring and for question answer solutions because they could see that, my profile, I'm doing this kind of a work.
Right.
But because we sign an agreement with the institutes that we cannot take up the trainings with anybody else, right? We cannot create question answer solutions with anybody else. So I was like, I guess this is the time when I can possibly start doing something on my own, right? Also, I come from a business background. So my father, my great grandfather, my grandfather, they all were in the business setup. So,
Okay.
so when it came to me working, it was a very difficult path for me because, thinking of you doing a job when your entire family is in business, it's a little difficult. It's not bad. Now I've come to a point where I understand it's not at all bad because whatever I've learned through these opportunities,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I have that gratitude for those opportunities now. But back then, when I was actually working for somebody, it was not a very very great feeling. I always felt that you can do something. You have it in your blood. Do something about it.
Right.
But I was not sure that Also, I would say that I possibly did not have that risk appetite. Also,
Right.
you know is it will it be very risky for me to quit my well-paying job and then get into this business setup, company setup? I don't know, will I be able to handle it myself or not? I had so many questions.
Right.
So but eventually I realized that I can, because I was getting so many opportunities online through LinkedIn. People were reaching out. My profile was getting stronger and stronger because of all the work that I did for institutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started off taking up a few trainings. I was not, when I quit my job, I was not taking a full-fledged training. Like
Right.
I did not have like 20 students coming in or doing something like that. My agenda was only to take few students in hand for whom I can get their desired scores. I was very clear with this idea that I would just give possibly 1 year to this, where I will just try and do whatever is possible in my hands to make sure that these students they get the scores whatever they desire, right? So I took very few students in hand, and because I trained in a lot of fields like GMAT, GRE, SATs, I was not training actively for IELTS and TOEFL. I made it a point that I have students in all these tests.
Right.
I want to stay in touch. You don't want to lose the touch, right?
Right.
So I train students, very few students, with this kind of a training process, and eventually I had a lot of institutes again reaching me out for a visiting lecture or come help our students. So our students are stuck between a particular score. Can you do something more? We have the teachers in place. Can you do something more so that they get their desired scores? And eventually, I also got institutes to help them with creating the question answer solutions.
Right.
So that is when I, 6 months of doing this freelancing, I decided that this is the time when I want to set up my own company and I want to give away these services as a part of my company.
Right.
Currently, I am giving one-on-one tutoring to students. I am also creating question answer solutions for institutes. And yeah, I mean, this is a happy place. This is a very happy place. I'm also expanding. I have a quant teacher in place because I have trained students for verbal
Right.
part.
Right.
And I want to give that full-fledged experience to the institutes and the students. I want to take that responsibility that where I say your entire score, I'm going to make sure that you get that entire score, not just the verbal, but the quant bit as well. So I took that responsibility, and now I have two freelancers and a full-time employee working for my company, Test Maestro, and it's going great till now.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I was, until you brought up the point about having a quant teacher working with you,
yeah,
my next question was going to be, hey, you know what? All the people that I've spoken to, who are in the test prep coaching
yeah.
industry, most of them seem to have come from, either a science background or engineering background, stuff
Hmm.
like that. And that's how, they'd be teaching verbal and quant.
Right.
And so I understand you started off teaching only verbal. You'd never touched quant,
No, no.
right?
By now, I have an idea of what quant is all about in GMAT, GRE, and SATs. But yeah, because it's not my forte, and I would only want to give the students and the institutes the best that they can have, I have kept it away from me. And with the whole transition now, I'm sure you know that GMAT, the entire pattern has changed, GRE pattern has changed. There's a lot of transition, and now I've come to a point that possibly I can, prepare for quant, and I want to do that. That is the next step in my career that I'll be taking, where I take up the quant as well. Eventually, I don't plan to take up the trainings on my own, or create question answer solutions on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I plan to I plan to supervise these activities while I cater to more clients and more students. Right. So I want to take responsibility that all these services will be delivered to you timely and in a very proper manner. Right. That's the whole plan of Test Maestro. That would be the next step.
Got it, Mohini. So, how long has it been since you started Test Maestro?
Test Maestro, it's been 3.5 years approximately that we've started with Test Maestro.
Okay. And
Yeah.
you also said, before you started Test Maestro, you did 6 months of freelancing, where you kind of validated
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
services. And
Yes.
that's when you were hired by training institutes
Yeah.
to do stuff. But you
Yeah.
also mentioned that, training institutes already had teachers,
Yeah.
but they still wanted you to, in addition to that, they wanted you to do something so that the students
Right.
get desired results, right?
Right.
Could you share what are the exact things that you did?
So I'll tell you what, when it comes to a training institute, they are packed with sessions, back to back sessions. They are delivering sessions in, where they have to take up certain concepts in a particular hours and in one day. That's the compulsion that even the teacher gets.
Right,
So when I was working with institutes, I had to make sure that session one, I take up this entire thing, right?
right,
And when you're taking it in a batch, right, somebody is probably getting it, somebody is probably not getting it. You
right,
know,
right,
that person probably needs more times on that particular topic, but you've got to end because you have to move to the session two the next day,
right,
right?
right, right,
So they will have to continue their services like that because they plan to cater to those number of students. They can't halt the sessions to clarify.
accommodate for a few students. Yeah,
Right. So when they see that the students are bright and they are getting somewhere, the scores are somewhere close to their desired score, but they're not able to make it to that particular benchmark, right? That particular score that they are desiring. That is the time when they will call me. Then I'll do some analysis on each student. I will understand where in the mocks they are faltering, where they need to focus more. So when I take up sessions with them, I don't do the concept building, right?
Right.
Unless and until it's extremely required that possibly, I feel that the student has no idea about this particular concept, right?
Right.
I
Right.
feel that there's something that needs to be changed. Only then I would touch base with the concepts. But when the student comes to me, I'm basically assuming that this person has to know, by then he has to know this particular thing.
Right.
And then take it ahead from that, so that the student's time is not wasted. Plus, I am catering to what I have been hired for, right? That we have to work on that particular score. And for that particular score, we need to look into very small details of the
Right.
test,
Right.
right from a particular concept to even the mental health of the student. Sometimes the student is so stressed with the fact that, let's say, I appeared for GMAT 5 times, I was not able to get the scores. Now what do? I'm only left with 3 attempts.
Right.
You know, there's that anxiety, you can say. It happens with everybody, and it's very normal. It's super normal.
Okay.
Probably just tackling that bit, maybe just giving more confidence. It can be as simple as that.
Right.
So that is when I come into place, and only for those students who are brilliant and who can get the desired scores, I get in touch with them personally on a one-on-one tutoring kind of a service.
Got it.
Yeah.
And there are other students who are already there. These are the students. Somehow something is not happening. A deeper
Yeah.
analysis is needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it, Mohini. So, Mohini, in the industry, right, is there a specific role just for this? Because this seems like a very common occurrence, right?
Yeah. You have those visiting faculties, right? Not every institute will have that.
Got it.
But some of the institutes who are very, they are very particular about this, and they're doing so much to make sure that the student gets the desired score. Right from their normal sessions to doubt sessions to revision sessions, they have a lot going on. Right? They would come ahead, and be like, I probably need someone else to jump in and take care of this particular child. Right?
Right.
Institutes, they ultimately want the scores, right? That is how they are going to be appreciated. So when they see a bright student, they've got to take that much of efforts, right? That this person can, and so we will do this, right?
Got it. Got it, Mohini. Mohini, before we, move ahead and talk more about Test Maestro, I'd like to go back a little bit and talk about your experience when you were preparing questions. And I think you were doing it for the verbal alone, right?
Yes.
So you said it may not be that challenging, and then you found it to be challenging, and then you kind of tried to work more on it. Is that correct?
Yeah, initially, no, I never had an idea as to how challenging it could be or how easy it could be. It was just an idea that appealed to me. I was like, who are these people who are making these, right? So,
Right.
yeah, that is how I went into that role. I did find it challenging initially, but yeah, I mean, when you take up a lot of questions and solutions, when you have practiced enough, the good part with me was that I had practiced enough. I had taken enough mocks, enough practice to know what the question should be asking, right, in a general manner. So yeah.
Got it. The reason I'm going back to that is for people who'd like to explore that opportunity in
Right.
this industry, right? What
Right.
would how would they need to approach it? What are the things that you assumed, but then you learned later? Can you break it down?
Okay, yeah, sure. So, I think first of all, whoever is training, right, these kind of courses, they should definitely have the experience of even creating the question answer solutions. That's like going one step ahead, right?
Right.
So it's like we do say that, right? That 80 to 90% of whatever you teach is something that you retain, right? So if you want to learn something the best way, you've got to teach it to somebody,
Right.
right? So if you want to understand the approach or the minute details that you can tell your students, that how you can do better in that. I think the approach is you start creating question answer solutions.
Right.
By that, I don't mean that just create a question answer solution. I mean, take up a question, let's say official guide, right? Let's take up a question on that. Now you saw what that particular question is testing, right? Try to create something similar to it that's testing the same thing, the same logic, right? So when you're creating a question based on the same logic, there's no way that that logic is not going to be clear to you,
Right.
right? With the question, you're also creating the incorrect options, right? So to identify what can be
Right,
incorrect,
right,
you've got to
right.
know what's incorrect, right?
Hmm.
So when you're creating a question as a solution, you've got to practice the already made ones, and then create a question that's testing the same logic, right? And then
Got
create
it.
the solution. Now, the way that you can get such opportunities would be, of course, if you're training somewhere, you can possibly, first approach them that, I am interested in doing this. Do you have any such opportunity for me? Possibly don't look for money at that point in time. If
Right,
you can, that is because I would not say everybody has very different, levels of understanding with this as per their situations. But possibly try to let go the money aspect for
got it.
it, because if you understand that particular aspect very well, you'll have a lot coming in later. Right?
Right, right,
Like it's like you're getting trained. It's like you're a student now, you've got to learn, right?
right.
Have that learning mentality, and that's going to help, right? So this is the way that we can approach.
No, this is great. The way you put it, right? I mean, if you want to learn, teach, and if you want to teach, go create the questions, go create the problems that you're trying to
Right.
teach the solutions for, right?
Absolutely.
And yeah, if you happen to, and then the way you teach the students itself might change completely, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so sometimes, my something might happen like this, that somebody is really, really interested in student interaction. They don't like sitting on laptops and creating content. They don't like it. It's completely natural. But if you do some of it, you can probably be better with your interaction with the student. You
Right.
know, that's the whole point.
How did it change your teaching approach before you created these questions and after you created these
A
questions?
lot, a lot. So before I started creating questions and solutions, I was very technical, you know taking up the methods and the tricks that are easily available everywhere. And there's a lot of content on these courses online, and all content that you can almost take up the entire thing in a very free way, right? It's all freely available.
Right.
But I kind of, my training approach, the way I train my students, has completely changed the
Hmm.
from the time I started creating questions and solutions, because I am no longer training on those similar lines which are already there.
Right.
I'm training on the lines that, what, this is the logic. Identify the wrong ones also, and you know why it's wrong. Let's understand that as well, right?
Right. Right.
So it's changed the entire approach very much, and that is how I have stayed unique. You know, that's my way. And trust me, I have not spent anything on Test Maestro's marketing. All the opportunities that I have gotten is thankfully through LinkedIn. There
Right.
is word of mouth. There's LinkedIn. I have people approaching me for questions and solutions, for training. So I did not have to do a lot for marketing, and it was quite great. The response was quite great. It's still great. So imagine if I start marketing, how people will come. They'll probably come to know it better. Probably get to interact with me and know it better, right?
Right.
Without marketing, without spending a lot, I'm just focusing on my knowledge, right? I'm just focusing on what I have to give and how I can be unique in this entire market, where there are like players sitting since I don't know how many years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
We will come to that. I'll come to how you market and how you get your students. But I think for students, I think one of the new ways in which they can kind of choose their teachers is to ask a simple question. Hey, have you created questions?
yeah,
Because it definitely does seem like it makes so much sense. You don't even have to understand why. It makes so much sense. If you
it
can
does.
create the question, you can help the student get behind the thought process of the question.
Exactly my point.
Great. Okay, now since you mentioned about money, so
Huh.
what's the market, rates like? What are your charges, or like is it per question or is it per
Okay.
test? How does it happen?
Okay,
All
I
these.
can give you an overview about it,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So when I charge for question answer solutions, it's per question answer solution,
Okay.
right? So in the market, you will find trainers or even the founders who are working in this industry charging for hours, for even the content creation. So
Oh,
let's say I charge on an hourly basis. So in an hour approximately, I'll be able to make 2 questions or 3 questions or whatever the number is. So there are two types that you will find in the market. One would be charging as per the number of hours they put into for that work.
right,
Another way you might find is as per the number of question answer solutions that you ask for, right?
right.
So I go with question answer solution. That's more appropriate for me.
Got it. How much can one expect to get paid? Like, what's the range, like the lowest to highest
So I'll tell you, you can go as low as 300
per question?
as high, yeah, per question answer solution to as high as 1,000 or to 1,500 even. I have not touched that level yet,
Got it.
right? Somewhere in between. But again, it's not been a very long time that I'm giving these services. So I am definitely seeing that happening in the future. But yeah, if you're giving quality question answer solutions, there's no institute who's going to say no. Every institute is going to ask for samples. Every founder is going to ask you for samples, right? If your work, whatever kind of work you're doing, if they can see that in your samples and in the questions later that you give them, if the sample is approved, you are definitely going to see more and more such projects, right? Because
Right.
the number of questions, the demand for questions, that never dies, never dies. Every institute over here is competing in the number of questions that they can provide. So somebody's providing
Mm.
5,000 questions, somebody's providing 3,000. So they have got to go above 5,000 to create an edge, right? So the number of required questions and the solutions, it never dies in these institutes, so yeah.
Great. So I was going to ask you, what's the fuss about creating questions? Because see, this is how I've understood. Please help
Huh.
me if I'm, just correct me if I'm wrong.
Right.
See, there is internet. There's so
Hmm.
much of information for free out there.
Hmm.
And as a face-to-face institute,
Hmm.
you're only giving personally your questions. You might be printing it or whatever it is. The chances for copyright and all those things is very negligible because it's just a one-on-one interaction. Student is not going to go to the internet and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But when it comes to, let's say, online, let's say, you're teaching online, and then let's say you've created a portal where, you've got questions and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And let's
Yeah.
say you are just plagiarizing or you're just copying from somebody else,
Yeah.
just taking questions from the internet and putting that could lead to problems, not only legal problems, but also repetitive. What's the value student is getting by seeing the same question, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking, probably in the institutes where there are face-to-face training, classroom training happening,
Hmm.
questions was never a problem. The
Hmm.
problem is only for the online people, who are trying to build a brand and,
Hmm.
who are trying to have their own test series.
Hmm.
But looks like that's not the case. Even the institutes are really trying to get new questions. And you're saying institutes, one of the things by which they market and sell is the number of questions that they give the students. Is it practice
Yeah.
questions?
Yeah.
Okay,
So now I'll tell you what they have analytics in place, right?
right,
So there are a couple of companies training for GMAT who have analytics in place, and they tag their questions as per the logic that it's checking you on, right?
right, right, right,
Analytically to understand which particular topic is there where you need help, right?
right, right,
And what kind of help you'll have to revisit the video that you've already gone through,
right,
right? So let's say in the verbal section there are 3 sections: RC, CR, and whatever, right? So let's say where I was practicing, right? In reading comprehensions, I was not doing great, and the analytics showed it that your accuracy was only 20% in this. What will I do? I'll go back to the reading comprehension videos which I had learned, which I had gone through earlier, and then try to identify the problem over there.
correct,
Right? So basically, the more the number of questions, even the demand is like that. It's not the institute's fault. It's basically the questions the students they are posing are also like that. That how many questions will we be practicing? How many
right.
papers are we gonna practice? And that's a tough spot, because for me, I feel GMAT and GRE kind of tests, you do not need to practice more than 5 mocks. It's not like CAT, right? It's not like CAT where you go on practicing. It's like you take a one mock, you do justice to it, you analyze everything in that particular mock, you make the most out of it. Your mistakes, your strengths, your weakness, everything, right? And then the time you take up the second mock, you keep a gap so that you work on your mistakes, and your second mock gives you better score. So you don't go, practicing a lot of mocks for GMAT and GRE kind of courses. But the students would ask you,
Hmm.
that, how many mocks are we going to practice? Because in their mind, it's like the number of mocks, more the number of mocks you practice, the better you will be
Better.
with it.
Right.
But my point is that that's not going to make you better. What is going to make you better is the more analysis you do on your
The
mocks.
deeper you go in each of the mock.
Yeah. So if you're spending 1 hour for the mock, you'll have to spend 5 hours to analyze the entire mock. You know, everything, even for the right ones, that why did you get it right? Was your reason correct? Was it genuine enough? Right? So you've got to do that detailed study, right? So that's the whole fuss about questions, right? That is
Right.
where the institutes have got to market, like, you'll be practicing 5,000 critical reasoning questions or whatever the number is. They're going crazy, right, about the number of questions. It's because the demand is like that,
The students are asking the institutes these kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
questions.
yeah.
And great. So, Moni, couple of things, but before I go there, how do you, so the students coming to you,
Hmm.
how do you tackle this? I mean, are you able to convince them, look, it's just the quality and the depth of the mock that you do, and more than it's not the quantity. So, are you able to convince them? And
Yeah. So basically, I tell you, I am not able to convince all of them, right?
right,
That's the fact. And I do not want to convince all of them. You know,
got it,
I want a student to visit me only if that person understands that so because, the moment I say that you have to spend 5 hours on your analysis, like that kind of a statement, it scares them, right? Like, oh
right,
my God, who's going to spend so much of time? I just want to see my score and see the next score, right?
right,
But I only want to entertain those students who are actually serious enough to put in their time and efforts, right?
got it,
So this keeps me sorted, or this helps me filtering the students that I want to train, right? So yeah, it's pretty good for me. I'm very clear about this, and only if the student is okay with it, I do not try and persuade. I will give the pros and cons, but if that's not enough, then I would not want to take up the trainings, because I know down the line that person is going to come back to me again. Anyways, any which ways. Probably, they'll do mistakes. Everybody does mistakes, that's all right. But they'll do mistakes, they'll realize that the approach that they took by practicing 15 mocks or 10 mocks was not good enough, right? So that's the time probably they'll realize that I should have spent some more time, right? So, yeah.
got it, Moini. But I mean, from a business point of view, right? Let's say you're looking at somebody above you is monitoring your numbers. Of course, it's not the case hypothetically.
Yeah,
What's your
yeah,
problem in even entertaining those students who believe it's got to do the quantity? I mean, you are anyway nothing to lose, right?
yeah. I mean, see, the thing is that with even the business point of view, I'm telling you that if I'm catering to the right students, my goodwill increases, right? So because their scores are going to be great.
Right, right, right. Your
I'm not
reputation, your okay, got it.
I am not looking for short-term goals. I am looking for a long-term goal, right? So I don't want to exist in the market for the next 5 years. I want to exist throughout, you
Got
know.
it.
And to make it happen throughout, I'll have to. It's not like if a student asks me for numbers or number of questions, I would not be like not interested to explain him at all, right? I would try and make the student understand that,
Understand.
please get my point that I've been training in this industry for 10 years now. This is not going to help you. This is going to help you.
Right,
That's my first opinion, right? But I've got to be true to myself and the
right,
student, right?
right.
And if the student still doesn't agree, then there's no pushing. Obviously, you can't push anybody, right? But like I said, I'm only looking for longer term goals. And for that kind of a goal, I'll have to cater to the right students, right? Who can have that capacity to understand.
Got it, Moni. You're saying that, you're implying, look, the chances of these guys not getting the desired results is more
Yeah.
than, and you do not want that on your portfolio or, your
Yeah.
results sheet. Got it.
Yeah.
Moini, you said for Test Maestro, LinkedIn has played a huge role.
Huh.
Can you, in as depth as possible, walk us through your journey on LinkedIn? When did you start? How did you approach it at first? And when did a certain structure come into play and all that?
So I'll tell you what, I have been not so great with LinkedIn,
Okay.
honestly. Like, I've been planning to put up posts or to be more active on LinkedIn. Like, let me pick up one question that I create on and post it on my profile, just post it, ask for answers, or be just more active. There are many ways to be active on LinkedIn. I've not been able to do so, right? Honestly. But the kind of experience, for example, I'll tell you honestly, the brands that I have worked with has fetched me clients coming in and the students coming in, right? So fortunately, I got some big players. I've been working with them. I'm still working with them. When they open up my profile, the first thing somebody is going to see is kind of work that you have done, right? And if they see familiar names, right, familiar names very specifically, they kind of have more faith in you, that
Hmm.
you probably know your thing, whatever you're doing,
Right.
right?
Right.
And that is how even the startups would approach you. So I've also worked as an education consultant for a few startups.
Hmm.
I've helped them create the entire platform right from the beginning to the end. And once we have delivered all the questions and solutions, how it should look like on their portal, what all they can include in their course, once that's done, my job is done, right? So I've
Right.
even done those kind of roles. But then like I said, the names, the familiar names that they see on my profile is something that makes them, approach me.
Got it. So you're saying, okay, this is about you've used LinkedIn just to showcase, the people that you've worked
Yeah,
with, the brands you've worked with, and they just see your
yeah.
profile and come. You have not done active posting and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's a bad point. That's a bad point. Somebody who is in this field, they should definitely be active on LinkedIn. Definitely, write about their experiences. Definitely write about how they deal with students in different kind of situations, because the platform is meant for that, right? The platform is meant for me to help someone else who's working in a similar field and say that, hey, I faced a similar situation. I tackled it like that, so that can give some ideas to the other people who are working, right? But it's a bad point that I've not been able to stay active on LinkedIn like that. I'm planning to, but again, because of the workload that you get, you end up, not being so active over there. But yeah, LinkedIn is of great help, great help.
You said because of the workload, but can you try and deep dive a little bit more into
Hmm.
why you haven't been able to do that? If you put your mind, you can do that, right?
Yeah. So
There is something, yeah.
first of all, because there's some content feeling about the number of projects that I have, right? So you will only go there
You're not
when
hungry enough. Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't know what to say, but yeah, I mean, I'm overwhelmed with the projects that I'm working on right now. And
Okay.
like I said, I am, giving the quality work, so it requires a lot of time and efforts. So yeah, I mean, I'm not getting that opportunity to be there on LinkedIn. So somebody, I'll tell you, this gives me an idea that, let's say if somebody is there who can create great question answer solutions but has not worked with brands, right? For somebody like that, that person should definitely post a question answer solution on LinkedIn, which will give these institutes an idea as to his or her capabilities, right? So it can be used like that. Like I said, I've been blessed with some things that have happened in my career,
Right.
because of that everything is working fine till now, but I know that that's not going to last for a very long time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got to go ahead and do something on LinkedIn. I have got to have a YouTube channel where I give away some tricks, some tips to the students for free. These are the things that we should be doing, but I just need to have the time and capacity for it.
Got it, Mohini. Uh, let's, now go to test Maestro. And I want to ask you about, how did you get your first student?
Okay. So, all right. First student was again, somebody who approached me through LinkedIn, right?
Okay.
Huh. And honestly, like I said, I was not running for money, or I was not, initially, I was not very stringent about the money part, right? I only wanted the scores, and I only wanted the student to have a great experience studying
Right.
with me, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I lowered down the rates a lot,
Okay.
correct? I lowered down the rates a lot, put in a lot of efforts, which I still do. Efforts have not reduced, but yes, I have come to the standard market rate that is going on, right? But yeah, initially somebody contacted me on LinkedIn. I got to train that student through that platform. There's one more platform, Teacher On.
Teacher on. Okay.
Yeah. So I created a profile of mine over there as well. So majorly the SAT students would approach me from Teacher On. For
Mm.
GMAT and GRE, I would get the opportunities from LinkedIn.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
Okay. You
yeah.
said you lowered your rates and then you said you use the word market rate. So what is the market rate? How low did you go? I'm asking this for people, who are starting off.
Huh.
Does just the lowering the rates does the trick, or because I mean, I'm coming from a point of view that people who are going to take GMAT or GRE, these guys are going to go abroad, right? It's
Yeah,
not like they have a problem paying or something. Maybe some of them may be sticking it out of their budget and stuff.
yeah.
But for people who are starting off, what do you suggest would be a good rate, to attract
So
more students?
I'll tell you honestly, there is no standard good rate.
Okay,
Okay, I mean, that was my gut feeling to go ahead with a certain rate,
got it.
right? There's no standard market rate also, because I don't know everybody who's training in the market, right?
Right,
I know few. And that too, I know from others that, the other person is charging this much, the other person. And I don't know a lot of people who are in this industry personally when it comes to the rates and stuff.
right,
Also, there is a constant comparison between what you're doing over here compared to the institutes like who are running these batches, right? So
right,
they start a certain amount, and then of course the student will tell you that what I'm getting to get this verbal thing sorted from there at X rate. So will you lower down your rates a little bit? And it's not like they don't
Oh,
have
the
a.
students ask. Okay, there is a bit of negotiation that
There
happens.
is
Okay,
definitely, because they're adults you're dealing with. They definitely, no matter. I think it's just there. Let's just say that everybody does that. It's not like that. There's no negotiation, or everybody is very comfortable in paying whatever you want or whatever the number you give away, right? But yeah, I mean, students would negotiate. And my idea is just like I said, when I show the kind of scores that I've been able to get,
hmm.
then probably the negotiation stops somewhere.
Right, right,
And that's where my initial hard work on working those students who were capable, right, but probably were stuck because of some reason, right, that helped me a lot in showcasing that this is the kind of score that you can expect to get.
right.
Right, so let's not haggle between the cost and the price and everything. Trust me, it's gonna be good for you.
Got it. Talking
Yeah,
about rates, from my experience, from the people that I've spoken to,
yeah,
the highest that I've heard is somewhere, 3,000 rupees per hour.
yeah.
Is that is,
I've heard 4,000 also.
yeah,
Let me
4,000
tell
is the
you.
highest I've heard from ACT and SAT markets.
Hmm.
But probably GMAT, GRE, or verbal. Let's take it verbal. Verbal
Yeah,
is 3,000, or if you buy a 20-hour package, then it probably
it'll
gets a little
reduce a little. Yeah.
reduced a little. But yeah, that's the kind of prices that are in the market right now, from what I know. But now, for people who are starting off, see the typical journey of individual trainers today, who are running very good, who are running in a very good way. They've all started off by teaching for another academy, like you said. They have the backing of brands that they've worked with.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, do you think that's the only way for beginners to start off with? Should they just do that, or do you think need not be? You can also start off on your own without that. If you think they can, what should they do?
Hmm.
What are the
So,
best practices?
so honestly, for me, working at an institute, and because they go, they make you go through an exhaustive process. right? You've
Right.
got to give these number of papers. You've got to attempt, because now you're going to a class full of 30 students. You
Right.
can't go without practice, right? You can't go without knowing what you're doing. And
Right.
especially GMAT, right? GMAT, all the adults are coming. The questions are varied, and they are very good questions. They're not like stupid questions. They're very,
Right.
very strong, good questions, right?
Right.
So you've got to be very well versed with what you're planning to train, right?
Hmm.
So that gave me a very good exposure. Right now, I'll tell you what, all those institutes that I worked for, I know what their training process is, how they want to train their students. When I say how they want to train, is basically the learning logics that they want to give away, right? I know at least 4 to 5 institutes and their learning logics, right? I
Hmm.
know about their pros, I know about their cons for these 4 institutes. And
Right.
when I came up with my teaching manner, I have picked up the pros, right? I picked up the
Pros.
pros.
Yeah. Right.
Right? So basically, now that the manner where I teach, it has a lot to do with the institutes that I've worked with. They have
Hmm.
they treated me like a student initially, right, while
Right.
training,
Right.
and then eventually I became a teacher over there. So
Okay.
they have a lot to do with the manner that I teach right now. Plus, I have my own way of thinking now, because, like I said, I created a lot of question answer solutions. I came to know a lot of things that we can tell the students about. For example, as simple as, when it comes to reading passages, right? Let's say, for example, SATs. Reading passages, there are a lot coming in from history, US history.
Right.
And these are the passages that the students are very scared of, because the language is totally different. Right? It's not like a simple layman language that they use. So why don't we make them comfortable about the history and the terms that they use in the history, US history already, so that when they see the passage, they feel like it's familiar, right? They know these terms. Correct. So it can be as small as that, that you basically come up with something that, I face this question a lot from my students. My students are stuck in science passages. Although the fancy names have nothing to do with the questions, but they are stuck with those passages. So let me find a way to cut out all that crap and, let the student focus on what they need to really read. Right. So institutes have a lot to do. So anybody who is planning to do this either has to be really, really strong about his or her skills, right? Probably has gotten the desired scores himself, correct? And then probably, go ahead and start training if you're very, very strong about what you've
Got it.
got, right? Otherwise, I mean, institute learning from them is a great way as well.
Got it, Mohini. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear. Somebody who wants to go get into training
Yeah.
for the test preps, for the tests, I think best way to go is gain some experience by teaching in institutes, because it kind of shortens your learning curves, what I understand from
Also,
you.
you'll realize whether you really like it or not, right? It's not
Okay.
everybody's cup of tea. It's
Right.
not like everybody's going to enjoy those difficult questions that the students are going to ask in the session, right? Especially when it comes to GMAT, GRE sessions, right? You have those critical reasoning arguments where there can be a lot of argument between the teacher and the students, because they have their own logics to give,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we have a different logic as per the exam, right? So do you like that kind of a conversation or not? If you're somebody who's getting frustrated of such conversations, then I don't think the field is for you, right? So you also need to understand whether you like it or not.
Got it. Have there been times when you've said, I don't know?
Of course, of course.
And how
Right.
important is that? That there's a, yeah, I mean, because it's not very easy to say, I don't know as a trainer.
Yeah, see, you've got to be comfortable with that. So my point was that, I this person is planning his or her masters and so much of investment on the basis of what I'm going to tell. Right.
Right.
So
Right.
I can't be wrong. I can't be like maybe also, right? I have to be very sure,
Sure.
very, very sure. And if I'm not, I would just say that, what? This is a great question, but unfortunately, as of now, I don't have an answer. Let me work on it. That has helped me a lot, honestly.
Right.
Uh, I have done my prep, but at times you will find these kind of situations, right? So you just got to say what you know and what you don't know, right? There's no way out of it.
I mean, when the institute you first joined, when they were training you, when they were trying to ramp you up, did they talk about this as a topic? You know what, in the class, if you do not know something, feel free to say I don't know. Or did you experience that by chance, and then
Uh,
see, once you said it for the first time, I understand how it is, but
huh.
I just want to realize the first time, were you already told, or did you experience it yourself?
See, no institute will tell you that, you should just say that I don't know to students, right? Because, I mean,
They
they
expect you to clear the doubt.
yeah, first of all, they will expect me to know it, right? That
Right.
how is it possible that you don't know, right? But that's a very unrealistic expectation,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, exactly.
That's a very unrealistic expectation. You might not know,
Yeah.
right? You can't know especially when you're starting off, right?
Yes. Yes.
So it's all right. Nobody told me that say this, and it's not wise for them. I totally understand why it's not wise for them. I took a call that I can't do that because I have also prepared for some courses, and I would have hated it if the teacher would just give me any random answer rather than giving me a good qualified answer, right? So
Right.
yeah.
Got it, Mohini. Mohini, another thing that I've noticed, right? All the trainers that I've spoken to,
Mm.
everybody is kind of gotten into it by accident. It's not a planned career. Say, for example, there are people, who plan to do an MBA and then do an
Mm.
MBA and then they get into something.
Yeah,
Why is it so, like that? Do you see going ahead the test prep coaching itself becoming a career choice?
it is. It is now. Now
It
it
is
is.
now.
Yeah.
People are preparing for it,
Well,
even while they're studying.
yeah. So there are students who have asked me that, ma'am, how do I get to doing what you're doing? Or, how do I get to become a teacher who can train students for
And
this?
these are people who they come to you to learn GMAT
For
SAT.
learning and also randomly from
Okay,
somebody. So
got it.
LinkedIn is like that, right? Even I would reach out to somebody if I want a.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And nobody says no, of course. There's no way that
Right.
anybody would say no for any kind of a help.
Yes.
So there are people approaching and asking that, ma'am, I have been doing, I've been working in HR. Right now, what I want to get into the
Mm,
teaching industry. I don't like this job. I want to get into the teaching industry. What do I do? Right. So there are people choosing this field. Right. So yeah, I mean, even I got into this field by accident, like I told you.
yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah, yeah.
started off as a trainer because I liked the training thing, what they were doing in the soft skill class. And then IELTS, TOEFL, and then GMAT, GRE, SAT, and then now this, right? So it happens by accident, but people are now very aware of this field and they want to opt for it. It's a great field, honestly. If somebody who likes to interact with students, likes to read a lot as well, because you've got to read, especially in the verbal section, you've got to read a lot.
Right, right.
If you're comfortable in doing that and you like it, not comfortable actually, like doing it, then you should definitely explore this. It's a well-paying job. It's not like it's not going to be well paid for you. So yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about, say, comparing it to a 9 to 5 job, and taking this job up as a career choice? What are the pros and cons? What can people expect, and what they need to be ready for?
Okay.
And what is the kind of money that people can make?
So the thing is, in the nine, it's quite subjective, for everybody, because somebody might not want to put in any effort after five,
Right.
like you said. And in the teaching industry, it's not like that. It's like you've got to see a calendar, and any slot that you feel that is something that you can give away, you'll have to give away to the student. But that's not the only thing that you're doing. To give away that one slot to the student, you have to also pre work and post work,
Right.
right?
Right.
So there is no certain hour, I would say, when you're training, right? Definitely there are late night hours when you have to give away to GMAT, GRE students. For SAT, I have students based out of the US. You'll have to give away some early morning hours, late night hours again, right? Because their time zone is different. You have to do all that, right? But again, it's totally subjective. For me, it worked wonderfully. I
Right.
am not comfortable with log in and log out kind of a culture.
Got it.
I am comfortable with this is my space. I am the freshest or the brightest right now. So I will do all my important tasks at this particular time. Right.
Right.
I am of that mentality.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it, Mohini. Now, coming back to, Test Maestro, we spoke about how you got your first student, you got it through LinkedIn and stuff. And how has the growth been? How many students at the time you started off? How many right now?
Yeah.
And
So when I started off Test Maestro, I had only one student.
right,
Test Maestro. Before that, like I said, I was exploring, right? So at that point in time, I had 6, 7 students, nothing more. And then when I actually officially got my company registered and everything, I had one student that I started off with,
right,
right? Right now, I am down to, not down to, but I'm taking up 25 students at this point in time. And that's more than enough for me to take up, right?
got
So
it,
if I have to take up personally their classes, I will not be able to go beyond this number, or the quality will get compromised.
right,
Like I said, I will not compromise on the quality part. So this is the max that I think as an individual I can take up, because they all are one-on-one tutoring. Like
got
they
it,
all have private tutorings that are going on.
got it,
I'm also working on question answer solutions for a few institutes. Now, that is again, I did not have any client when I started off
right,
for the question answer solution services. But now I am catering to 4 institutes, one for GRE and
mm-hmm,
for GMAT. Right. So again, when I say when catering to them, it goes like, probably a month I will sit down and create question answer solutions for them. They
right,
would need 10 days to go through them, right? Then I'll start working on the next set. Like, there is a gap that I get,
right.
right? But then, yeah, I'm catering to 4 institutes right now for their content work.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Mohini, when it comes to, being a business operator or a business owner, payments
Hmm.
is something that is a thing. I mean,
Hmm.
it's not something just to let it go, but it's a thing. It
Yeah.
occupies a little bit of your mind space because
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
people pay well, some people are
Yeah.
not great at paying.
Yeah.
What are your experiences around that, and what is the process that you've come to which is comfortable for you?
Oh, so honestly, I have never liked negotiating, right? I'm somebody who hates this, right? I mean, I can't do this. I'm too bad with it, right? I might just get exploited with this kind of a negotiation skill.
Got it.
So, and it's the worst discussion for me. Like, I don't like this discussion at all. But
Right,
yeah, of course, when you start up with something, you've got to do everything, right?
right,
You've got to do
right,
everything on your own.
right.
So, yeah, I mean, my experience has been great with few of the institutes who had no issues with the quality that I was giving them, right?
Hmm.
But there were certain institutes, and there are, and I am sure I'm going to get such institutes again, right? Who would haggle a lot, even in the payments. So, few institutes will have a certain payment cycle where they'll pay you after 45 days of
Right,
your work being submitted or something, right? Even after 45 days, you might not get your payment. So, again, you basically are creating the content, you have delivered the content on time, but you probably are still struggling to get your payment for the work that you have delivered, right?
right.
So while you're working on your question answer solutions, while you're even teaching your students, you might have to make calls to get your payment done also. So that
Hmm.
is another part that you should be comfortable with doing, and it takes up time. Creating invoices, that takes up time. Sending them out, managing the taxing and everything with your CA is also going to take up time.
Right,
Making sure that your payments are getting done timely, and also reaching out to those people for payments, that becomes a lengthy process if your client is somebody who's not making the payments on time, right? So
right,
till now I've gotten only 2 to 3 clients like that. Nothing, I mean, but yeah, I mean, there was a big struggle, a huge struggle in getting the payments done. But yeah, I mean, because you're running a company, you've got to be open to doing everything, right?
got
So
it.
that can be an issue, but you will have to make your way through.
No solutions for it. Any changes you made after that experience?
Honestly, when like I said, I've worked with big brands when it comes to question answer solutions. They have their policies. You might want them to change their policies for you, but I was not able to change their policies for me, right?
Got it.
Because it works for everybody like that,
Right.
right? So I couldn't do anything about it. But yeah, I mean, the only solution is that if they're too troublesome, probably don't work with them. you know, that
Save
that
yourself the
is,
trouble. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, because it's really it takes up a lot of time, and it takes up a lot of time and space, right? You just started up with your company, you have your financial sorted, you would know that this is coming in, this is going out. If
Right.
the coming in doesn't happen timely, your going out will have an issue, right? And
Correct.
you might just face a lot of trouble because of that. So which I did face, and it was a bad experience, but I no longer work for that client, right? Because you've got to be clear with your mind to create question as a solution. It requires a lot of thinking and a lot of freshness, right? It
Got it.
can't be overwhelmed with these tasks. But this is a challenge. This is a big challenge, again, like I said, to get
But what
done.
about when it comes to students? You take upfront, or
Ha!
you're
Because for students, it's little sorted. It's not so troublesome. I don't take up the entire amount in advance because you've got to understand that the student might not be comfortable, or the parent, like in SAT, you deal with parents, right? You don't bill
right.
to the student directly. So the parent might not be comfortable in giving away the entire amount upfront. So you might want to segregate it. So let's say give me 20 hours of payment earlier. For the rest of the hours, you can make it after 20 or something like that, right? So this is something that I follow. If I'm giving a 30 hour of training, then I would take up 20 hours in advance, and 10 hours I'll keep it after 20 hours.
Got it. And
Yeah.
what's the typical number of hours it takes for you to complete somebody's training?
So honestly, 20 hours are more than enough. 10 hours I keep because I might want to discuss or analyze the mocks again with the students. I want
Right.
them to probably, they have some waiting period. They might want to continue practicing. For
Right.
such kind of tasks, I keep 10 hours separately.
Got it, Mohini.
Yeah.
Mohini, another part of these teachings, right? Now we know that during 2020 we were in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
Before pandemic, there were classroom trainings, and then
Mm.
during the pandemic and after pandemic, things have changed a lot.
Mm.
So when it comes to online teaching, have you
Hmm.
been comfortable doing online teaching even before the pandemic, or you started online only after the pandemic?
So online happened just before the pandemic, right? And that was also because of one of the institutes that I was working with. They had started with few, they were already taking their live webinars and everything, right? Which happens everywhere.
Right.
So I started taking up the online trainings through them, right?
Hmm.
And during the pandemic, obviously, it was entirely online.
Online.
Yeah. So before pandemic, just before pandemic, I got the exposure to, the online sessions that I'm taking up right now.
Got it. And how has it been different for you teaching in a classroom atmosphere to online? Was there a bit of a learning curve in the transition?
So honestly, while I was working with the institute, taking up online session, it was a big trouble because you have 30 to 40 students in your Zoom meeting. Probably, somebody is responding, somebody is not, right? I don't know if they're getting the concept or not. The videos are off.
Right.
Don't know if they're even looking or hearing, right? So there's a lot of, you just don't know what they're doing because
Right.
they won't apply, right? So it's a trouble. But
Right.
now that I'm taking up only one-on-one tutorings, I don't take up batches because I don't want to. Even if I take a batch someday, I will not go ahead with go beyond 5 students in a session.
Got it.
I don't think it's possible for me as a teacher to know 40 students in the class personally and know all of their strengths and weaknesses, right?
Right.
For me, it's not possible to do that. So like I said, I'm looking for great scores and I will do it on a personal level, right? So, yeah.
Got it. What are the tools that you need to run a successful online teaching business?
You need a Zoom membership and a pen tab. So,
And a pen tab. That's about it.
yeah, that's about it.
Okay. What about the mock tests? How do you provide mock tests to your students?
So mock tests are online, right? So I don't give away, so I don't discuss the mocks here in the session itself, right? So
Okay.
either they'll have the PDFs or they'll be taking an online test, right?
So
Which
you
is
subscribe for another service when it comes to
no,
mock
it's
tests.
MBA.com, right? So they take up a test over there, right?
Right.
I'll have their credentials to see and analyze what they have done,
Got it.
right?
Got it. Got
So
it.
that way we have managed till now, and I don't see changing it somewhere in the near future. So
Got
that
it.
is how. That's enough. I mean, if you know your topics, I mean, a pen tab and a Zoom membership is more than enough. All the
Right.
contents available. Every student, whoever is taking up GMAT, is definitely gonna take up MBA.com subscription. And in order to analyze those tests, all you need is their credentials, which they'll be more than happy to give away. So yeah,
You consider this analysis time of yours also as a like an hour of your package, or
no,
that's
no, that's separate. So when I say 20 hours of training, that's only when I am interacting with the student.
oh, so you do that free of cost,
That's a part of my
part
service.
of your service.
Yeah.
Got it.
So the services that I provide, they include the concept building, the practice, the doubt sessions, and the analysis that I do. That is my responsibility. It's a part of the service, so it need not be paid separately.
Got it, Mohini. Mohini, you
Yeah.
said as of now, your bandwidth as far as the number of students is concerned is 25, right?
Yeah.
And from the from the way you're going, you have no problem getting those 25 students. You just get them on LinkedIn. You have
Not
connections.
not just LinkedIn, not just LinkedIn,
Teacher
honestly.
on, right?
Teacher on is there, and also this word of mouth. There's a lot of word of mouth, you know.
Word of mouth,
So,
right?
I mean, I have not run marketing campaigns for my website. The reason is only this because the word of mouth is going good, right? And also, I'm a visiting teacher for a few institutes. Then
Right.
I've got it split. Like I said, I've got to do.
Amazing, yeah. You
Yeah,
haven't put all your eggs in one basket, sort of a thing.
yeah. I mean, you can't because I've honestly, as a somebody who has quit her job and doing this thing, we've got to be safe also, and also this is what I like doing, right? So I don't have any
Yeah,
problem
yeah.
going to an institute and just deliver a lecture about what I like, right? So yeah, it's like that.
Okay. You get paid the same amount of money from the institute also for the number of hours that you do, or is there some sort of a
It's
difference?
different. It's different. So when you're going as a visiting faculty, you are not taking up the concepts. Like I said, when I take up these kind of lectures, I'm not taking the concepts unless and until I feel the student has absolutely no clue about the concept, right?
Right.
So the hourly payments for those sessions is more because you don't have to put in a lot of hours.
Oh, more. Okay, great.
Probably, I'll probably just give 10 hours,
Got it. Got it. Got it.
separated in intervals, and it's more for 1 hour there.
You're deliberately doing this, being a visiting faculty, taking up, creating questions, projects, and
Yeah,
teaching, so that
yeah.
you're splitting your risk. You feel that if something goes down, you still have a couple of others to
Yeah.
bank on. That's your mindset.
Also, like I said, these familiar names on my LinkedIn has gotten me a lot of opportunities,
Huh.
right? So I don't want to stop with that. I want to
Right.
reach out. I would be more than happy in even reaching out to those institutes who are doing very well in the industries and ask, if you require any help with the content creation or even with the teaching as a visiting faculty. So I want them coming in, right? So there are a lot of these players there, and they have they require these helps, they require these services. So why not?
This is great because I was going to ask you, hey, Mohini, you've got 25 students now. Are you
Hmm.
prepared for a time when you may not get 25 students? You seem to have your bases covered. But
Yeah.
let me rephrase my question like this,
Hmm.
right? Now, say, you are making X amount of money per month, whatever it might be.
Hmm.
As human beings, we always want to outdo ourselves, right? I mean,
Hmm.
no matter how much it is compared to the outside world, you
Yeah.
have your own standards and you want to keep going up.
Yeah.
How do you see that? Do you have a plan to scale up, or you're happy
Yeah.
to just Okay, yeah, please talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like I said, I want to come to that level where I supervise these things rather than deliver. Right?
Right.
I want to keep the quality and the learning way similar to what I'm doing right now,
Right.
right? And this will also give opportunities, right? I also want to create opportunities for the others to get into this field, and there are many who want to, who would
Right.
want to explore this field, right?
Right. Right.
So I want to train teachers on these fields so that they can take up these opportunities that I am busy doing right now. And
Right.
then finally, so let's say, for example, in the next 2 years, I have a capacity of 150 students because of the teachers that I've hired and I've trained and everything. Now, I want to come to that level where I supervise what these 150 students are doing, right? So basically, what I do as a visiting faculty with other institutes, I want to do with
Do
that
for your own.
Maestro, correct? So that these more students get the benefit out of what I'm doing right now. Rather than those 25, I would obviously want to cater more students.
Got it.
Yeah.
And you seem to also, believe that analyzing what a student is done more than delivering lectures and teaching them,
Yeah.
I think you feel there's a lot more value that you provide after their mock is done, where you analyze and find out their strengths and weaknesses. Is that right?
Yeah, so I'll tell you what, it requires an understanding right from the beginning, right? Because once they hit the mock, right, they'll have certain score in hand, which can be motivating, which can be demotivating as well, right? So I would want to see if, let's say, they're done with one section of the verbal preparation. I would want to see how are they doing with that one section, right? Do I need to touch base with anything with related to concepts in that one particular section? Are they good to go to the next section, right? So if I see that right from the beginning, which is something that I do for my students in my one-on-one tutoring, right? So
Right.
unless and until I feel they are getting an accuracy of 70 to 75% above in a particular section, I will not move to the other section, correct?
Right.
So
Right.
either they get that accuracy, or they practice enough the way I'm asking them to, or they just don't go ahead. Like, they will have to choose. If they want to go ahead, they've got to get a 75% accuracy in this, or we are not going ahead. Correct. So I want to handhold them and then take them to the mock where they get motivated, because the scores on that mock would matter a lot. Even though it's
Right.
going to be the first mock, it's going to matter a lot. It will decide the pace of the next mocks. If I don't get a good score in my first mock, I will be demotivated for the second mock. And that demotivation can affect the second mock as well.
Got it.
Right. So while they are learning the concepts, I want to see how they are doing in the practice stage after the learning. Right.
Got it, Mohini. I'm probably coming to the final part of this podcast. I just have this particular aspect. Now,
Hmm.
as a business owner, right? You're running
Hmm.
a business.
Hmm.
What are the opportunities that other people can expect
Hmm.
from you as a business owner? Are there places, yes, you're already giving opportunities to teachers.
Yeah.
As a typical training business, what are the other services that you depend that you think are not very essential for you to do, that you can outsource? What are
Huh.
such things that do you have vendors like that already, or you're planning to outsource
No,
stuff?
I don't have such vendors in place, but I might have to get those vendors in place because I need analytics. And like I said, if I get 125
Right.
students in place, I would not be able to do it manually,
Right. Yes. Yes.
right?
That. Yes.
So I will need help with that. Also, these tests are all online. They're conducted online, right? So
Right.
SP is online now. There's GMAT, Jerry. Already they were being conducted online. So I also need a platform where I will have to set up my questions that I create on these platforms so that they get a very real life experience,
Got
right?
it.
And also, like while they're taking up the test, there should be somebody to monitor them, like, proctor tests. So probably a tool where they get monitored at the same time while they're taking the test, which tells me about their movement. Did they move a lot? Did they go get a water bottle bottle of water, what they do while taking the test. Because sometimes, my questions are like that. When a student has taken the test, my questions are like, so your first section went very well. What happened in the second section? So then comes the things like, ma'am, I took a break for 10 minutes and then, somebody came on the door. And those things, they basically create a problem on your test, right? And then
Got it.
analysis might go wrong.
Right.
So I need those tests to be proctored, and for that, again, the tool is going to help. You can't be available online, right? So, yeah.
Got it, Mohini.
Hmm.
Mohini, it's been great, chatting with you and understanding. Thank you for taking me through the entire process and also uncovering ways for aspiring coaches or trainers to kind of
Hmm.
crack this domain.
Hmm.
Um, but before we log off,
Hmm.
as an industry,
Hmm.
how do you see? I mean, what's going on? Is it only the demand is only increasing, or
Hmm.
because I heard that the U.S. colleges
Hmm.
are now not making them. They're not making it mandatory
Hmm.
that somebody needs to have a SAT score,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
With all this, how do you see this in the next 5 years? What are the changes that you expect? How do people like you need to adapt? Have you
So,
thought about such things?
yeah, absolutely. After this huge transition of the test like GMAT and GRE, so GRE was very unexpected for me, which was going to happen eventually. I thought, it's going to happen because they both are linked, but it happened so soon was not expected. But like, you've got to adapt, right? I mean, even the GMAT Focus Edition, the books have just come in, right? All we can do is just adapt to those things. The bases, they remain the same, right? The English test, the actual thing that they are checking you on, will always remain the same. The logics would remain the same. They might put it across in a different manner,
Different manner, right?
right?
Format,
But the
yeah.
logics, they remain the same, right? So it's not of harm to anybody to already know these things, right? So
Right,
even people who are taking up the preparations for the old GMAT test will have no problems in taking up the new one as well, because their base is still the same. You
right,
know, they have just moved a few aspects, but most of the things are still there. Correct. Now, even with the SATs, GMAT, GRE, even with all these changes happening right now, I don't see the demand going down anywhere near in the future. Correct.
right,
People are still demanding for SAT coachings because there has to be something very, very concrete. The Ivy Leagues are still demanding SATs, right? So there's no way that for now that the demand is going down. The demand is still there, and it's increasing day by day because awareness is increasing day by day.
got it.
Right? More parents, even in our country, are considering SATs. More universities in our country are also accepting SAT scores. Right? So it's increasing for sure. You know, and unless and until something really huge drastically happens, again, even if it happens, you've got to adapt to it. And like I said, the base is not going to change. The
Right.
thing that they are actually testing you on, that is not going to change. So yeah.
Got it, Mohini. Thank you so much again. It's been a
All right.
pleasure talking with you. And thank you so much for all the valuable information that you've shared.
Same here. It was lovely speaking to you. And you know what? While interacting with you, it made me deep dive into a lot of stuff while speaking it out. You generally don't do that on your
Right,
daily life,
right.
because you don't speak a lot about your company to people. You're looking at the daily functioning,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But while speaking to you, I actually got to think a lot about, the industry that I am in and what the kind of work that I'm doing. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much for your feedback. It's a pleasure